Good evening, St. Lucia, and welcome to the first ever episode of 758 Sports Talk. 758 is the code. We're talking local sports, but obviously, we're going to get into what's going on regionally and internationally in the not too distant future. But for tonight's show, we're going to be discussing champions, the actual champions, the titans of St. Lucian football, and we'll be discussing in totality Black Hat 2017, an absolutely outstanding performance by the champions and a great production put on by the organizers of the 2017 version of the tournament, the 15th edition from 20 years of its existence, and I dare say an absolutely bumper crowd at the Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds. No doubt there was no other venue to hold all these individuals for the night. And we saw in the third place playoff, Grosley, they came up against Marsha, and we saw Troy Greenwich really showing his mettle as one of the best strikers in St. Lucia, having a hat-trick in that game to register 5 goals in the tournament, the top goal scorer from the tournament. And then in the big clash, Viewfort South, highly anticipated a rematch of the previous competition semi-final, conceding 3 goals, and I dare say not many people saw Canries scoring a 3 against them in that previous tournament. But Viewfort South, as we saw, came back and they did not concede, but were 3 goals to the good. Absolutely impressive performance from the team from the south. And I always when I speak to Mr. Bellas, I always ask, what's the secret down south? Because we see total dominance from the youth program to the female program to the senior program. A lot has been going on in Viewfort. There's a reason why they are the current association of the year in terms of the St. Lucia Football Association. So a lot has been going on down the south, and so we want to just congratulate them on what they've done in this year's competition. They actually came out of the entire competition and they did not concede a goal. They were the defending champions, and as we discussed a little early on, they would be trying to become the first ever winners of the Black Hat tournament on 3 consecutive years. So we will see if they are able to do that come next year. So I have a number of guests in my studio today. I'm going to be introducing them in a little bit, but I just want to do a little analysis on what we saw in the 2017 version of the competition. We saw a number of teams. We saw for the first time that the different media houses put together their power rankings, and most, in fact, all but one power ranking had Viewfort South and the Canaries in their top 5 teams. And Mr. Tennyson Glasgow and myself, we were the 2 individuals who had, that was St. Lucia Sports Online, having Viewfort South, ranked number 1, and the Viewfort and the Canaries ranked number 2 in the power rankings. And from there, we had some alterations in terms of the makeup of the other teams. But from the display we saw on Saturday night, it really proves that these were the 2 best teams in the competition, and perhaps the 2 best teams on Ireland right now. We saw in the first 45 minutes, Canaries playing decent football. This guy showed up for them in defense. That is Bradley Tissot. We've been bloviating about Bradley for the last couple of years, and he's been a part of the makeup of the team. He was captain until last year, and he really came out and played some really good, he really had some good defensive work for Canaries. But Viewfort was just too potent. We spoke about Viewfort, the composition of Viewfort from the back to the front. We spoke about Jamil Joseph ad nauseum, his ability to rotate and play pretty much any position on the field. We warned the St. Lucians and all teams about Antonio Joseph on that flank. We spoke about San Savory. We spoke about the makeup of the team, and I remember one article highlighting the fact that the Viewfort South may, at some point, may have every single one of the starting 11 at a national training in terms of trying to make our national team. And we saw that they really came out and played some brilliant football and ensured that they came out on top. Marsha versus Grosley. They seem to have, as I said earlier, they seem to have zoomed in on their coach. I think I speak for a number of persons when I say that in terms of the coaching of the Grosley team, we are satisfied. His first year as coaching the senior team. He's been around the Grosley team for a while as Zane. And in terms of the job he did in terms of marshalling the troops, because before the tournament, Grosley seemed to have had a team that was ordinary. We didn't see the likes of Eden Eve Charles until later on, Everton Lambert until later on, and so we saw the defensive, Daniel in defense. We saw them putting the team together and really having a good showing at the tournament, finishing third 2 consecutive years. And I think Grosley people are getting frustrated with the third place finish, but again they will settle for the $7,000 and their third place finish. Marsha, not to be counted out. They were counted out by a number of pundits before the tournament. Not many of us had them in their top 5, but they came out and had a decent showing in the competition and finishing 4th. They moved from 2nd last year to 4th this year, but again I think Clanis Jujo and the men from the capital of Castries would be not, I wouldn't say satisfied. Everybody wants to win the tournament, but they would have something to work on coming next year. All right, so that's my take on the tournament 2017. A good tournament, a good crowd. People came out in anticipation. We saw some of the comments on Facebook. Facebook was absolutely ablaze during, before, and even after the tournament, and so a really good tournament culminating last weekend at the Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds. All right, so we're going to jump right into our guests because we have a lot to discuss. I have champions in my midst tonight, and so I'm going to introduce them to St. Lucia. No stranger to the camera, I'd say, is the man on my left, Mr. Jamil Joseph. He is the captain of the successful Vieux-Fort South team. Very, very versatile player. We saw him last year playing in defense and in attack, and this year we saw him playing box to box, playing in the midfield and really controlling the game for Vieux-Fort South. There, former player with W Connection. His exploits regionally and semi-pro level has to be commended, and his experience showing in the tournament. On my right side, Antonio Joseph absolutely blazed the first 15 minutes of that game. We saw a madman just running on that left-hand flank, just beating every single person and really creating some opportunities for Vieux-Fort. And he is here tonight. He had 2 goals in the tournament, a very good tournament. So tonight, welcome to 758 Sports Talk, guys.
Yeah.
How do you? Jamil, we'll start with you. Tell us about the preparation for this year's competition and your overall impression on how the tournament went.
Well, we started as defending champions, so we know we're going in there as a team to beat. We started 3 months in training, taking every day seriously because we know we are the defending champions and we have a title to go and defend. And we know we want to keep the trophy because David Christopher said, is to keep it, you have to win it 3 years straight. So we're on the right path. We have a good coaching staff. So we're on the right path for the repeat.
Okay, so you, Joseph, tell us a little bit about yourself and your overall impression on the tournament this year.
Well, you all know I'm Antonio Joseph. I first time in front of the camera, you know. I a little shy, but still.
Sorry, you're good.
You know, I play at a semi-professional in Trinidad, or Caledonia. I'm back here. And I just to win trophies, you know. I want to leave an impact. That's it.
All right. So, Jamil, in terms of the marshalling the troops, in terms of getting together, in terms of training, what was it like for you guys before you all got into the tournament?
Well, it wasn't very difficult because everybody knew their job. Everybody knew they want to be a part of the successful team right now, which is the present team. So it wouldn't be very difficult because we would want to be a part of a winning team.
Okay. All right, so Antonio, in terms of coming into the tournament and hearing so much talk about the other teams and who you guys would be going up, how did you guys address or psych yourself to get into this competition?
We knew from time the draw happened, like we knew, okay, we were going to face Vieux-Fort North. We had a structure in place. We just follow it. Great management again. So.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about Vieux-Fort North, that very first game. Very competitive, perhaps the most competitive game in the tournament. That game and the ancillary game. What was it like when you guys discovered you were playing Vieux-Fort North, and that game you went down to 10 men very early?
How were you able to bounce back, and just what happened in that game?
Well, amazingly, for the whole preparation of the tournament, I don't know if the coach knew would be getting red cards, but every morning training session we played a man shot against the under-22 team, and we were like questioning coach, why coach? But it looked like he saw the future. So playing with 10 men is nothing new to the team. We train playing against the under-22 with 10 men.
Okay.
Every training session, every morning. So it wouldn't be a difficult thing for us. We could have adjusted ourselves to it. And the thing about the team, the present team, we have a lot of versatile players that can fit in any position without the coach telling them to do so.
Okay. Sounds like we got a red card in that very first game, the current footballer of the year, and perhaps one of the best defenders on island. Antonio, what was it like in that game, seeing him go off, and what was your thought process after?
Well, we was calm to the situation, you know, because we went and fight for him. We just knew we had to fight for the bragging rights, because we're in charge of Vieux-Fort, you know. We just went out, fight for him, and yeah.
All right, so Ancillary, you all played Ancillary in that quarterfinal match, and for many persons, and I would admit I'm one of them, we did not see Ancillary as, it's not like we count out Ancillary, it's just that over the last 3 years, since Ancillary won with the likes of Lawrence Senkwa, Chad Senkwa, these guys moved on, and from since then they were relegated to the playoffs and that sort of thing. Nobody really kept Charles Augustin in mind, and Erickson Reed and Rickson Senkwa. So at the end of the day, people kind of counted out Ancillary, but they really gave you all a good shot. What happened in that game?
But from the starting of the game, we were not prepared to face a team so young. We went in the game underestimating them, and that's what we went. That's where we went wrong. We're supposed to treat them like big men, and we did not. We treat them like a young team, like they are, but that was our mistake. But as champions, we dealt with it. We went around, we saw the hoops, we saw the hole, we took it. That's what champion teams do. Play bad games and win.
Definitely.
As long as you can play bad and win, you're a champion team.
Definitely, and that game we all Ancillary definitely give you all a couple of left hooks, as Mr. Christopher likes to allude to in his boxing analogies. Gregson president is not with us tonight, but he is definitely for me one of the players of the tournament, and he really came through in the midfield for you guys. What's it like playing with him?
We play from young school football till now, travel to Trinidad, come back, same team. It's like, that's my brother, you know, my soccer brother in a real life. Still my brother, so just good communication. We know each other weaknesses and strengths, and we just deal with it on the field.
Definitely, and you can see that synergy on the field, that camaraderie. You guys seem to play so well together. Semi-finals, Grosley. Oh my God, I have to get into that. Grosley. You all took out Grosley. Grosley, obviously, former champions. Grosley have been into your backyards in time past, and pretty much, you know, it's your people sign, but give you all a good run. And over the last year, I mean, you all played earlier this year, you all defeated Grosley. Grosley pretty much recalibrated and came back in the semi-final. How did that game go for you guys? You were able to come out on top?
Well, we watched Grosley play. We knew how to attack them, how to defend them. So it was a game plan for Grosley. Converse, put it around, reverse their formation against them in attack, and play the same formation against them in defense. So it was very easy to challenge them.
I don't like how easy it's making it sound like Grosley was just nothing, you know, like I don't stand for that, you know. But anyway, all right. So definitely you guys progress. We did pretty much most of the tournament, and once you all got past Grosley and you all realized Canaries was the team you would face in the final. I'll start with you, Jamil. What was your initial thought and approach to that game?
To be honest, it was payback. It was payback. Canaries people, St. Lucia people say we couldn't win away from home, and we did it twice. And the team we beat was the team who knocked us out in the Vision semi-finals. So it was payback.
They scored 3 against you all in the Visions competition, and you all scored once, and you were able to score 3. Was that something? Did that game actually motivate you all extra to come out in this game and really dominate?
Obviously, but we pick up our motivation from that Rashid comment. He said either teams will be at easy finals. So we get motivated from that, and we went out and just show him what we can do. Because football, we don't talk football, we play football. Simple.
All right. Well, there you have it, St. Lucia, and they came out on top in the final. So we will take a break. We have other guests to speak to tonight. We have the CEO of Blackheart, that's Mr. David Shakes Christopher, and we also have a coach of Vieux Fort South, that's Mr. Emmanuel Bellas. So when we come back, we'll introduce them to you guys. You can send us your WhatsApp messages. You can send us a WhatsApp message to 4880929. That's 4880929. I'll read them out. And so you can start sending us your WhatsApp messages. If you have questions for our guests, we'll entertain them when we get back. Welcome back to 758 Sports Talk. We're discussing the events of the weekend, the 15th edition of the Blackheart SNFA knockout competition. We saw the culmination on the weekend, and we saw Vieux Fort South coming up trumps, winning back-to-back. We were curious about who would do the double. We were curious as to whether Canaries would win 2 local titles in 1 year, or whether Vieux Fort South would win back-to-back Blackheart titles. They, along with Dennery, are the only 2 teams to have done it. And as they said, the intention is to win it for a 3rd time. And so I have with me on my left the manager coach of, also the president of the Vieux Fort Football Association. That's Mr. Emmanuel Bellas. He coached me cricket when I was younger. I don't think he remembers that. He used to coach cricket. Yeah, he's here with us. And we have the CEO, the man behind, the brain behind Blackheart. That's Mr. David Shakes Christopher. Welcome to the set. You guys are amongst the first ever individuals on our 758 Sports Talk desk. So let's start with Mr. Bellas. Mr. Bellas, how you been, and how did the tournament go for you?
I think I'm a bit relieved now, and of course the first thing that I would like to do is to thank the players of Vieux Fort South, the family of that team, and of course those patrons from Vieux Fort, and by extension the South, that gave us all the support that we needed, and I do not think without them that we could have done it.
All right. Okay, my phone is already buzzing. The number to message me is 4880929 if you want to send in your WhatsApp comments, your questions for our guests. That's 4880929. Mr. Christopher, Blackheart 2017, did it meet your expectations, and what did you say about this year's tournament?
Yes, first of all, I want to wish you the best with your show. It is a pleasure being here and being a part of history, being the first guests, some of the first guests on your program, and I really want to congratulate you and wish you all the best with your show. Blackheart 2017, what can I say? Congratulations to Vieux Fort making it a double. Congratulations to Canaries also, because they also was a champion. If you notice, both of the T-shirts had champions. You had a real champion, you have the follow-up champions. The champions have to be the real champions. So I want to congratulate both teams. I think Canaries, with all the hype, I think they get shocked by Viewfort because Viewfort had a plan. And as you listen to one of the player from Viewfort was saying that they look at all the team. And you mentioned that in one of your program also. Mr. Bellas was at all the games, making sure that he see the teams he have to play. He study the game. And this is what we need other persons to do too in the tournament, other leaders of community. You have to understand what you're into. This is knockout football. And you have to know who's in your group, who you have to play next, and study the program. It's like playing a horse race. I don't know if you ever played horse race before. You have to know the horse running, the condition of the horse, if this horse could run on wet conditions, and all these kind of things. Because, you know, I'm a gamer, you know. So what Mr. Bellas was doing is like treating this like a horse racing game. Checking all the horses out to the stable, the trainers, what the weakness is. You notice one of the players said, they identified the weakness of Canaries, and then they came back and penetrate the weakness of Canaries. So it shows that it's knockout football. They were studying what's going on, and I think they stunned Canaries. Gozele got stunned the week before when I mentioned they drop asleep. I think was hard for them to play on Saturday after Friday night, but it shows that they can play. It shows they can play after Friday night this last Saturday because they came back raging, and that was the Gozele we were looking for. We were looking for that display from the Gozele team that we saw in the third place. I didn't know why they didn't show up. If everybody afraid of Viewfort South. So we send that message out there now for 2018. Somebody have to get some kind of ox to cut down Viewfort South, because the way of Viewfort South is going on, like nobody can touch them. You know what I'm saying? And on a serious note, I think it's one of the most exciting team right now. Absolutely. The surface shows the ability and the skill of Viewfort South. They were struggling. In a few games, but then when you really analyze the surface, because the goalkeeper get an injury. I was speaking to him when I was down there. We get his ankle twisted. And you know, the ministry, I heard that they have a management committee now taking care of the field. I think this year we suffer a lot with the surface. As organizers, I was not satisfied with the surface in Viewfort. I was not even satisfied with Soufrière also. But then this is what we have to work with. We saw 42 goals scored in this year's tournament. Last year we had a little bit more goals scored. The surface was better last year. In the first round we saw 23 goals scored. In the second round we saw only 6 goals scored. In the semi-finals we saw 6 goals scored. It went down again. Then the third place we saw another 6 goals scored here. And in the finals we saw 3 goals scored. The incentive for goals went up. But then they just wasn't getting the goals. So the surface need a lot to desire. We hope that next year that we could see a better surface, and the ministry and those persons who are responsible for this facility could pay a little bit more attention to the facility and the surface, because without good surface you would not get good football. But all in all, we saw the crowd came out nicely. But then what we identify, and I think I will have to send an invoice for Mr. Ubalmas Raymond, because I did a study for him without getting a consultant fee. And the study I analyzed this year is that the country spending power is low, tremendously low, Kenson. And I have the records to show the days to compare back to 2013, that the spending power is the worst from since 2013 to 2017 in St. Lucia. The crowds would be in there, but then when you check the statistics at the bar, it's gone down at least about 30 to 40% down, sometimes even 50%. Even the entrance in some of the games, you say a massive crowd, but when you compare the crowd last year and this year, it went down also. In Viewfort, we saw the semi-finals, the crowd went down also. And in Soufrière, the first day in Soufrière didn't play because they had some indiscipline problem, and that really threw off the attendance again. So the statistics is there, the figures is there, so we need to see more spending power next year. So, your ball boss, you'll get an invoice from me for doing this study for you. It's free of cost from my end, but I'll send an invoice to you. But all in all, it was a nice tournament. We saw young players coming through.
Definitely.
And I also did something for Mr. Bellas. I didn't get to speak to him, but if you notice on the finals, we had these guys from Caribbean Greens was there.
Okay.
And they were very much interested in the Viewfort team at the start of the game. But after the game, this guy, I'll get a right name for you. This guy was very much interested in speaking to Mr. Bellas, but wasn't the right forum to really introduce him to Mr. Bellas because he was in fun, he was in noise, and he's saying, well, he based in Viewfort, there are factories around the Caribbean, he want to sponsor Viewfort South team. The excitement, so this kudos to Viewfort South. I can say off the hook on television and on national TV that I think they find themselves a sponsor.
Wow.
A very good sponsor. So I will give him all the information so he could link up with the Caribbean Greens guy. I think they're doing flower and different things down in the south, somewhere by the dock side. So they're interested in sponsoring your team because they were very impressed. I saw some other comments that person were saying, you know, the scuffling on the field, but it's a final. The adrenaline will pump up. People blood pressure would go up. People cholesterol will go up when you're playing these games. It's tension, it's passion. It's determination. So you'll have to still pushing and tugging, but you can't blame the players most of the time. The official have to take charge of the game from the first whistle to the end of the game. You have to know there's a final. You have to be the man in the middle. He's the 13th man on that field in the middle there to make sure that he control what's going on in that field. But I think all in all, the discipline for this year's tournament is very well. We don't see much red cards. I think we had about 3 red cards, if so much, if so many. About 3 red cards for the whole tournament, and this is very good. The yellow card statistics, we will give you that when we do the prize giving ceremony, when we announce the date for the prize giving ceremony. But I think we had a very good tournament, and football is in good hands. We see a lot of young players coming through, and we hope that some of these young players could move on to bigger things. We can see some of these players going out internationally and represent St. Lucia. But all in all, Kenson, yourself, I want to thank you. I think you came on this year. You bring a zip into the tournament, and again I want to wish you the best with your major part of your life, and continue doing it. We may lose some on one end, but then we're gonna find some on the other end. So kudos to you and all the other media personnel who really run with the tournament this year.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Bellas, I just have to ask you to comment on some of what Mr. Christopher said, and I want to also engage you in terms of what was done between the competition before and what adjustments were made on Black Hat to ensure that you guys came out and absolutely dominated an entire competition, clean sheets all around.
Last year, we had one tournament, and we made a conscious effort that we're going to take a break from our domestic competition, and we're going to concentrate on preparing a team for Black Hat. Because the talk in Viewfort is Black Hat had been going for too long, and Viewfort had not done what Viewfortians knew that Viewfort could have done. So we took a break. This year, it was different. We had our competitions. We had 2 competitions, albeit some persons will have seen one of them look like an extended competition, but we had 2 rounds of that tournament. So what we are hoping are that these guys would have been in football nick when they were called to get them prepared. And even while the tournament was on, the guys were at me, Coach, when do we start? I had to explain to the guys, you're in football, you're in a competition, play a competition. But at the back of these guys' mind, they know that there is a Black Hat tournament that is coming up. So we need to get ourselves prepared for that. So the start of our program was more the pushing by the players at my throat to make sure that we get started.
Well, I want to say good night to Mr. Coco Bellas. Perhaps the
mouth to the south, the mouth to the south.
I call him the social media guru on behalf of Viewfort South. I got so much pressure after that. We've had a little bit.
But I'll tell you one thing about Coco. Yes, he's the mouth of the south. I mean, notwithstanding he's my son, but what some persons do not know, Coco is my #1 critic.
Wow.
But he's also my #1 supporter. Because when you see he gets into that home and the criticism starts, his son and my other sons and my 2 grandsons have to ask what is going on. What are you all quarreling and fighting about? So he's my number one critic, and he's also the number one supporter. So when he criticizes other persons, do not think that he's letting me off the hook as well.
Shout out to Bosco as well, and Easy, you know, all my friends from Viewfort. I'll come here and check you. I don't have to get my pressure. Everybody asking me where's my green. Like all of a sudden I'll give up my blue of Grosley for green. Won't happen. But anyway, we have a couple of messages I will get into because persons have been. My phone has been going off. Somebody says, "Good evening, Kenson, and your guests. Congratulations to Viewfort South on creating history. Great win, Jamil, to you and your team, and especially the football brain, Mr. Bellas. I will take a page from your book and apply it to Viewfort North football, and hopefully won't meet Viewfort the first round next year. See you guys in the finals next year. Drogba from Viewfort North." Alright, so that's one of the comments going in. Somebody says, "Good show. How do you rate Grosley performance? Viewfort crushed it." All right. Well, I would say before the tournament, when Grosley played the Champions of Champions, Grosley also played divisions. I was not impressed, especially defensively. To answer your question, I was not impressed defensively with Grosley. Now, a lot of people from Grosley don't understand that there's a difference between criticizing a team and not supporting a team. Because certain people thought that I was criticizing my team, and it's like I wouldn't support. Anybody would tell you I'm a diehard Grosley fan until I die. But in terms of defensively, before the tournament, I felt like Jonas Maxius, I always shout him out, always getting a red card, so I was always disappointed with that. And so I was always like, you know what, we need to, do something, perhaps use him in terms of experience and bring along some young players. And this is exactly what happened. Dennis, Boots and his brother from Grosley, very good defensive young player. Ochilia, very good defensive team came up, and we saw some of the older people coming in terms of Giovanni Di Turville, in terms of Everton Lambert in the midfield, and so. But as the tournament got closer, I saw some development in Grosley. There's still much more to be desired, and so I answered your question. We good. Don't worry about us, no more. Am I right? Somebody says, "Congratulations to Viewfort South. Although I am a Grosley supporter, but we gotta support good football when we see it." All right. So we've seen a number of messages coming in there. Viewfort South winning Blackheart 10 in a row. The best. That's one thing Viewfort people can talk. Happens in Baba. 10 in a row. Viewfort South have a building team with under 20 players, I agree, on the senior team, which will lead them to win the Blackheart trophy. So the trophies just start coming in, and obviously the development program we've seen from Viewfort would give a voice to that. Somebody says, "Big up to my hometown," from Kim and Persita from Denry, my home Viewfort. All right, so we have a number of things to get into. We'll take a break. We're going to open the lines early for you guys. I want to ask Mr. Christopher a couple of more questions, and we're going to open the lines for you guys to call in with your questions, comments, queries. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 758 Sports Talk. We just want to apologize for the extended break, just taking care of some issues for you, trying to make it as splendid as possible. And while we're on a break, a number of messages came through, We'll be opening the phone lines in a couple of seconds, but let me just get through some of them. Somebody says, "Big up Coach Bellas on behalf of the Viewfort South players. I'm trying to message him, but I just realized that he has no data." They put him on blast. Alright, somebody says, "A big up Viewfort South, big up Shakes, and a big up Blackheart crew. We put together competitions. I would like to ask Shakes whether there is any plans to considering home and away, at least from the quarterfinal stage. Blackheart seems to come and go so quickly." You want to address that, Mr. Christopher? You'll address that in a while. Let me get some more from the texting platform. Big up to Coach Bellas on behalf of the Viewfort South players. All right. Somebody else says, What was the toughest match for Vieux-Fort South? This is an important question to this individual. What would you consider to be the toughest match? I'll give you a second to think about it, and I'll go through another message. Good night to you and your guests. I have one question for Coach. What do you think of your team's performance against Ancillary? Ancillary want to know, eh? Ancillary want to know. All right. A very contribution here. Congrats to Vieux-Fort South for doing the double as predicted. They were my number one. That's Mr. Anthony de Beauville. So yes, in fact, Anthony de Beauville had Vieux-Fort South ranked 1. Tennyson Glasgow had Vieux-Fort South ranked 1. St. Lucia Sports Online had Vieux-Fort South ranked 1. I guess there's a reason for that, as we saw. Congrats to Vieux-Fort South for doing the double as predicted. They were my number 1. I believe when football in the South is strong, St. Lucia football remain on a high. The various leagues with the city must up their game. Within the city must up their game. You see a lot of individual brilliance with Castries teams, but to get over that all-important hurdle is an area of concern. The Central Castries team is a pretty young team that should not be written off. I think they have something to prove. They need to be more disciplined in front of goal, squandered too many chances. He also said, I heard the CEO of Blackheart Production, David Shakes Christopher, mentioned earlier his displeasure of the playing surface at the Philip Master Grounds and the Sufremini Stadium. But what one expect when you have the sad playing field being used for carnival activities, 1 week later Wetfet, and in a few days time Buck Festival. What next is what that same government that turned the George Odlum Stadium into an everlasting hospital. Some passion there. As somebody says, big up the best goalkeeper on island, Vino Baslet. So messages keep coming in. A shout out to Mr. Bellas. He has my former coach. He was my former coach at secondary school. I think Mr. Bellas coached everybody that did anything in sports at somewhere. Secondary school. He's the best veteran in the game. All right. So a couple questions coming in there. Let's just Mr. Bellas. What was your toughest opponent?
I think that the toughest game for us would have been the Vieux-Fort North game, and not necessarily on a tactical nature, but more because of the physical nature of that game and the mental part that I think it brought out to on the players. And it was more so, I think, for the players, because I was on edge during that game, hoping all the time that it won't happen, that my players were going to keep calm, and make sure that they gone through the game without another incident. So that for me was one of the toughest ones, because I think it took some mental toll on the players, and I had to make sure that they stayed above everything and contained themselves.
Mr. Christopher, in terms of the quarterfinal stage being home and away or a 2-game sort of playoff, have you given any consideration to that sort of format? Because people seem to not want Blackheart to end.
Well, as I was saying a while ago, the tournament is a knockout tournament. A knockout tournament, it will come and go fast because it run over a period of 3 weeks, and it will run fast. The longer the tournament runs, is the more it would cost. And then again, we have other tournaments in that form. And then what the SLFA don't want is the 2 same kind of tournament running. So you have a tournament where you can lose and still come back. And then you have a tournament, you win, you stay, you lose, you go home. It's like the preparation for Olympics. You go to qualifiers. The other tournaments are the qualifiers for Blackheart. So you go through those tournaments to get yourself prepared to come to play the World Cup. Blackheart is like the World Cup for St. Lucia. It's St. Lucia World Cup football, where you come in, you come through the qualifiers with all the other tournaments, and then when you hear Blackheart now, it's either you win, you stay, you lose, you go home. So it depends on the SLFA. What we would like to do is do a younger version, which we were knocking on the door all the time, asking for. But now we see now the young players coming into Blackheart, and it's more the young players now playing Blackheart. So this is what I would say with the home and away. Okay. The longer it go, the more it would cost.
All right, so our phone lines are now open, 451-9788. That's 451-9788. If you want to make your contribution, you can call us at 451-9788. As somebody said, congrats, Vieux-Fort. The person said Vieux-Fort North, but I suspect they said you want to say Vieux-Fort South. I made the mistake a couple times. How about a female Blackheart next year? Mr. Christopher.
Again, the SLFA, the governing body, we will take the cue from the SLFA. The SLFA have a tight calendar of events, and they have to slot you into their calendar. If you notice, they're doing a lot of youth development and allowing the senior football to be run by private organization. If the slot so be, and we can fit in that slot, especially female, to get female football back on the interest, we would gladly want to do it. So it left up to the SLFA to see where they can fit us into the calendar.
All right.
But Kenton, I must add as well, because now that we mentioned female, I know we discussing Black Hat, but the Fusions especially must not lose sight that the SLFA organize a youth female tournament. And VFOT has been the first team to also do the back-to-back. So while we on back-to-back, we did back-to-back with our youth female team.
Yes.
We did back-to-back with our Black Hat team. And the next week and a half, another back-to-back is expected with the under 23.
See, it's back to back to back to
Back
back
to back to back to back.
You're going out
to
tomorrow.
back up.
Grizzly won the 15, Solution Sports Online, the 15 Cup. Anyway, Mr. Christopher, what in terms of the last year and this year, what would you say was different about the tournament this year?
Well, a lot of things, we saw a lot of things happen. We saw a new criteria was created by Solution Sports Online. We saw the Black Hat People's Choice play of the tournament, which was initiated by Solution Sports Online, and that really kicked up a storm. We saw the power ranking also being initiated by Solution Sports Online and the media houses. A lot of people get flack for that because some people said my categories wasn't there, this one said the team wasn't there, but then they were ranking on what they saw, especially from the champion of champions. And the difference this year was the champion of champions. We did it year before the last, not last year, year before the last. But last year I was in Rio, so we did a smaller version. But the year before, Mikud won it. But this year, what we saw a more. We were more concentrated on the champions, preparing them and engaging them. They were going for $5,000, winner take all, and it was like a bang start for them for the tournament. So everybody was more psyched up, and we saw Babano, who was the champion of the playoff, came in and run down some of the champions there. The defending champion of Vieux-Fort South get knocked out the first round. They messed up the script and messed up the whole program and the whole financial structure of the whole thing. But then, at the end of the day, was what's good for Mikud. I think Mikud get complacent after that. They think, well, there is the gem, because they know to play money game. You can't take it away from Mikud. Mikud watch the clock, they time the clock well. They know when to slow the game down. They know when to pick up the tempo, and other teams was learn that too. It's knockout football. But all in all, we saw what transpired in the champion of champion. And I was saying to Mr. Bellas early this evening, you're the champion now. So you can create a champion of champions, bring in champions from everywhere and create things and keep the football going right through into the next tournament. But a lot of things happened different, and we saw the fruit is bearing for football. Football is in good hands. We have a lot of critics out there who may not like the SLFA or where the SLFA path is going, but trust me, working with the SLFA and dealing with the SLFA and understanding, not understanding, understanding what the SLFA is trying to do, you yourself have to be in the loop to understand what's really going on before you could understand. The SLFA is focusing on development. They're developing the young players to come into these tournaments. Scouts was here. We had a few scouts were there. We were looking at some of the young players. The first thing a scout would ask you, what's the age of that guy? What's the age of that guy? Because they have certain ages that they're looking at. Now the SLFA is going into the club structure will be coming back. We remember in Black Heart, we had a club one Black Heart before. We had VSADC, and we even had Lutz Ali. He went to the finals when they came down with the three vicious, the cool, and the hot, cool, and the hot, cool, and the vicious. With all the pom-pom girls. This is the first set of guys that bring down cheerleaders and pom-pom girls. Southern Sales, Rusali. Light up the window Phillip Park. Break down the shed from on top. So we saw that from 1997 into now. And that was 1997. So we saw that trend build from 1997 to 2017. So you see in the making where this tournament came from, where it at, and where you're going to go. So it's the only thing that happen could get better. You're going to find a little uphill, you're going to find a little downhill. You may have to go to IMF, you may have to go probably to the international body for funding, but whichever we have to go, we will go, but the tournament will continue to grow from strength to strength.
There's one thing I want to endorse. Strix just mentioned is the involvement of, well, not just the involvement, but the management of the SLFA, because the SLFA has gotten criticism for what is happening now, and I am not sure that everybody fully understands and appreciates what the SLFA is doing. I mean, for instance, we've been hearing over the years that whatever sport that it is, anytime you've got a young team and that young team has done well at a regional level, they always keep telling the national body to try to keep these persons together.
Yes.
4 years ago, we had an under 15 team that went to under 17, that went to, I think, Curacao or wherever they went to, that brought us one step closer to the World Cup. And everybody was happy. St. Lucia was happy. And the cry was to keep them together. How do you keep them together? These guys, the next year or so, they were brought in to play divisions. But that's the same team that persons were saying keep together. Yet it was that same team that some persons were saying that should not have been taking part in visions. So we're really not sure what it is that we're about. So to me, that is development among the youngsters. I mean, I am not going to sit here and say that SLFA should spend a lot of money on developing senior football. And when I say senior football, I am not talking of persons who are 20, 21, because these persons that you've got to take care of. But if we talk in development, you've got to look on the young side and make sure that you take care of your young.
Well, I endorse that too, because we saw in a couple of years ago the under 20 team with Zacchaeus Police was the captain. They played the finals against Mabuya, the same young team, and was under Wilkie Larcher.
Yes,
because they was trying to groom a young team. But then that's the reason why you have Alvin Malikan and veterans in sporting. So when you reach that level and you can't play black hat, you go and play veterans. So you have veterans waiting there to take you in, and Alvin they're waiting.
I can't wait.
See, Alvin sponsored you for South without my permission. He sponsored my championship without my permission. It was my brother. It's my brother. But you have veterans in sport. They'll be coming on in a little while.
Yeah,
and when you finish here, you can always go into that tournament, because that tournament in itself is building. So you see football in itself is building in different divisions. You have the female, you have the youth, you have the seniors, you have the black art, you have the veterans. It's just sports for all.
Just want to make sure that you have a sport for everybody.
Yes,
I mean,
everybody.
V14 in particular, their own programming is geared at developing the youngsters, because all the clubs in V14 now has to have a youth program. The success that V14 is enjoying now is because these young persons have been involved in football over the years, because persons seem to be forgetting about 3-4 years ago, V14 won the national under 17. They won the under 19 when Jamil was the coach. So these are some of the players that I now have to work around with. So what I am doing now is enjoying the work that some of these persons did before me. So a base had been established. So I'm just capitalizing on that. And all of it has to do with youth development.
Okay. All right. We have our first ever caller of 758 Sports Talk. Good evening. You're live. Go ahead with your contribution. Oh my. All right, Mr. Bella said that person holding on for too long. But anyway, you could call back. The number to call is 451-9788. We have a couple of messages. Somebody says, want to say good job to the best keeper Vino, from Andy and Jenna and everyone at home. V4 South all the way. So we have another one. Congrats to Team Beaufort South, especially Antonio Joseph, for being one of the goal scorers, aka small brother Tifwe. And can we get some highlights? Somebody's asking for some highlights of the game. All right. Somebody says congratulations to Beaufort South for winning the Black Hat tournament. I've been following you guys. Although I'm a Leclerc fan, you guys made history, and I want to applaud and commend you guys. What can be done to increase the level of support from fans around the St. Lucia? That's the question that we always ask.
This is a good question.
We have a question from we'll take that in a little while. We have a comment from the critic. Congrats to you for South. This team has potential to do a three-peat. Commitment, discipline, and sacrifice played a major role within the team. All right, good evening. You're live on 758 Sports. Can you give us your contribution, please? Hello?
Yeah, good night, Sheikh. Good night, Kingston. Good night, Mr. Bellas.
Good night.
Congratulations, you for South. Keep it up. Mr. Bellas, one thing we have to work on, the amount of goals scoring on attempts.
The amount of goals scored where?
On attempts on goal. The amount of goals we scoring on the amount of attempts we have on goal. We have to work on that. We're still too much there.
Okay, so you're not satisfied with the ratio of attempts on goal and the amount of goals. So in other words, despite Vieux Fort winning 3-0, you're not satisfied they should have won 6.
No, not that. We scoring too many goals before we score one.
Okay.
That's all. That's not what I'm talking about.
Mr. Ballas. Okay, Mr. Ballas was not able to hear your contribution, but the caller was saying that he thinks that Vieux Fort South is a good team, but they need to pretty much work on their finishing in terms of being more clinical, the amount of goals thrown as opposed to the amount of goals scored. He thinks that's an area that you guys can improve on.
No, I think that is a positive criticism, because if we look at last year and this year, we scored a lot more goals last year. Now, I am not saying that the performance of our team has gone down, because last year we scored more goals. We considered last year. This year we didn't concede. So it just means that we had a lot more work to do. I mean, we had a situation where our attack this year, I am not satisfied that the amount of confidence that they had last year, especially Antonio, that he came into that tournament with that. I mean, considering in the Vision tournament, I think Antonio was the leading goal scorer, but this time he had to be struggling. I mean, the good thing about Vieux Fort South, as Antonio said to the team, when he does not score, persons are wrong him work, because you have a whole team, you have a whole team effort. But I think that's a positive criticism.
All right, thank you very much for your contribution.
The defense was up too, because some of the teams playing good defense. Because when you look at a guy like Bradley Tissot at the back, Diesel Marshall, good defending. So you came up against good defensive team too. So when the strikers is not scoring goal, the defenders is improving.
All right, I didn't finish read what the critics said. Congrats to Vieux Fort South. This team has potential to do a three-peat. Commitment, discipline, and sacrifice played a major role within this team, added with a surplus of talent for every position. The rest of the teams have a lot to do if they are to measure up to the class this team has. Well said. Somebody says, okay, we have another caller. Good evening. You're live on 758 Sports Talk. Go ahead for contribution, caller.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I would like to congratulate the Vieux Fort team. I got a good game, and from anytime you're playing, I must commend for control, because I'm from Castries. Now, the other thing, they have that program they have tonight. I see they had 2 fellas from Vieux Fort. You know, they were interviewing them 2 players from Vieux Fort.
Yeah,
what I'm saying, they should have, if they have 2 from Vieux Fort, they should have 1 from the 3 other teams that played there last night. You know, to get a comments on this kind of thing. But it didn't happen. Well, it's alright. And another thing, with the national side, when you're picking a national side, like, you're supposed to have at least 30 players starting from age 16.
Alright, we seem to have lost that caller, but the caller was alluding to the fact that he wanted some other players from other teams on set. But we have, as you can see, we wouldn't be able to bring everybody on, and I personally believe that the champions needed full attention for tonight, and so that is why we had Team Vieux Fort in. Somebody said, good night, want to big up the best keeper in Lucia. Everybody is saying that, the best keeper in Lucia. Vino coming from his top goon, Dylan Alaba. Okay. We have another contribution here. A good time to raise some money for our sister Island Dominica. A repeat Vieux Fort South versus Canaries. One cannot go wrong. Black Hat double champions Vieux Fort South versus losing finalist Canaries, who is also the 2017 Super League. $5,000 winner take all. Proceeds at the gate go towards Dominica, sister Island. All right, that's another contribution made to our texting platform. Somebody says the Vieux Fort North coming next year with the young players too. We had just a few in the game versus Vieux Fort South to watch out. So watch out next year. 3-peat for Vieux Fort North and South. All right. Wow. So number of other contributions coming there. All right, let's get this one. Congrats to Viewfort South, coming from the president of the Babonneau Football League. Go Green. Green is my favorite color, but yes, Babonneau. I really thought Babonneau would have had. This was one of the teams that came out from the champions of champions. They looked absolutely impressive. Even the build-up play in terms of the qualifiers. But then Alex Joseph, the goalkeeper, not being able to attend because of other commitments, and they had to put one of the best wingers, as Tristan Pierre, into the game and really threw it off. And that's the nature of Black Hat. You have to come with your team.
You got to come with your full team. I think Alex is the one should be blamed for that, because Alex was in the game.
I give him a call out already.
You know, he knows he's going to play cricket, and then, you know, the last minute you put your team down, and that cost his team. And they were looking very good.
Yes, we have another call.
Yes.
Good evening, you're live on 758 Sports Talk. Go ahead with your contribution.
Good night to the trio.
Good night, good night.
Yeah, boss.
I just want to tell the other teams to
the
take
doctor,
note.
this is the doctor.
No, it's not the doctor.
That's not the doctor.
Doctor is during the day. Night time now. Anyhow, listen, what I'm saying is that I don't want the other teams to participate in Black Hat, whether it be in the playoffs or teams who have established themselves within the Black Hat competition. Preparation is the key. You may hear of what Belas is saying. It doesn't happen overnight. A lot of young footballers or footballers per se, they cheat themselves. And by saying so, they don't show up to practice regularly. They want to command the spot on the team. And they don't put in the effort. And it really shows within those games. Case in point, Marsha made the finals last season. They made the final for this season. But when they got into the larger area in terms of the playing field at Bossejou, they wilted. And it shows that the preparation was poor. If you want to become a marquee footballer or top flight team, or you want to be successful, you have to put in the effort. So what you see Viewfort is doing there, in terms of what Bella said, they're just reaping the rewards of the effort that they have put in. So don't think by cheating yourself and not showing up that next year you're just magically gonna win Black Hat. It doesn't work out that way. You have to put it in, not only in terms of on the field, off the field as well. I saw this Viewfort team attend several games, and this is where the team bonding came in. So if you dribble past one player on that pitch, that other player is going to fight for you, because he took the bus ride with you. He was at training with you. He went to the beach with you. It's like a family. So I watched those guys against Viewfort North. Down in the 20th minute, down to 10 men. And they fought and fought and fought. This is what football is all about. It's not just when that whistle blows and, hey, okay, at the end of the 90 minutes, it is preparation on and off the field. So I just want to say congratulations to them, because they really showed what a team is all about.
Definitely. All right. Thank you so much.
And I mentioned earlier in terms of the sacrifice and the commitment. And Belas knows what I'm talking about. So again, kudos to them. But the other teams, if you want to raise to that level, you have to take a page from the book of Viewfort South.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, just
good program so far, guys.
To add, the Viewfort team is not a group of footballers. It's a whole family that we have. If this guy is at the Masley ground and I want to see one, I just enter the field and you know what area to go, and you're not going to see one.
You'll see the first group.
They eat together, they drink together, they kiss together, they kick together, they do everything together.
They help me pack the truck together.
They do everything together. So my pride now is not just winning that, but is the relationship that exists between these players.
Them together.
And that is what I know, that I'm trying my utmost to make sure that we keep that. Because if we have that going, then it's going to be good for Viewfort.
All right, we have a couple of messages. Somebody said good win to Viewfort South, but there was a lack in quality in terms of football. Canaries never arrived at the grounds, but next year look out for Je Grozy Lee. All right, somebody says Great show as usual. Big up Shakes for putting on a great and successful tournament. That is from the CEO of Veterans in Sports Inc. I'm telling you, I cannot wait for Veterans this year because I see VSADC early in the morning. I bush them. Training already. I bush them. They try and hide. I bush them. Good show as usual. Big up Shakes for putting on a great and successful tournament. I know how hard it is to put tournaments together, and to achieve such success is simply because of hard work and dedication. Keep it up. And to Mr. Bellas, is simply an amazing personality. Your team and community deserve to be champions. Congrats and enjoy. Absolutely spot on. I mean, you guys worked hard and you guys are reaping the reward. All right, somebody says, firstly, let me say commiserations to the Canaries team. Keep your head up, stay focused, and work hard, finding why it is difficult to get over the line more often than not. Having said so, congratulations to my team Beaufort South. Job well done, lads. And with Bellas at the helm, it simply says we are heading in the right direction. Let's see, Bellas going up for everybody. By the way, Bellas is a rock, best coach, all right, best teachers, best MCs.
Everything.
Best, he's best everything. He put it not to read at the end.
Listen, one of the things that I must say that in Beaufort football, I have support of the players, I have the support of the leagues, and I have support of the community. Because the Beaufort Football League, its program, the management of that is taken on by the leagues. And when you have the involvement of the leagues, then you've got the players that follow the leagues. So our programming and everything, I have to give kudos to the players that we have on these Beaufort representative teams, the support that I get from the leagues, and the support from the community. Even persons who are not affiliated with clubs give us the support.
Definitely. Somebody says, that's my guys. Congratulations to you all. We can take it next year. Gregson, Jamil, Andy. That's my guys. We're going to send it again. I guess they wanted to talk about Antonius, Vino, and the rest agreeing all the way back to back to back. All right. Somebody says, great. Ken, so congrats on your debut. I am impressed. Keep it up. Still like air, you rise. Big things are happening for you there. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Although I am not a football fan, it has been very informative. Keep it up, guys. All right. Good night. I would like to congratulate you on a job well done, guys. Keep up the work and all the best for the future. The messages are coming in and coming in. A big up of Beaufort South. The game for Dominica should be in Beaufort, and it should be Beaufort South versus the rest. So you have the Beaufort South, the best of the rest, and that should be.
Well, look, the person's probably following the doctor, the doctor page, because the doctor is supposed to be releasing a team. He's supposed to be releasing a Black Heart team. So I think he tried to, in consultation with the same guys who were doing the power ranking. So that team, they will be playing against the champions.
That would be a nice game.
So that game, they would be the game probably that person is asking for Dominica. We just have to speak to the SLF. I think the president will love that. The Secretary General, the General Secretary, the Secretary General, I talking Olympic now. The Secretary General would like that, the General Secretary, and I think it could happen, but it will have to be done through the Beaufort League, because you know that the structure now you have to go through the league. We would give them the full support so we could work along with Mr. Bellas to make it happen, but that team will be released soon, and probably that team will be announced at the prize giving ceremony.
That'd be nice.
Yes.
All right. So somebody says Saturday night finals brought back the memories of football. Brought back two memories: football in the 80s, when loads of Euphortians converged at the Mindo Phillip Park during the Mackerson football tournament. The atmosphere was electrifying, loud shouts, horns blowing, true St. Lucia style. But most importantly, a high five to the fans for such a wonderful behavior. Yeah, it means we can enjoy ourselves. That's the other thing. We had no incident.
Very well. That Arthur say it all. Not one incident.
Yeah.
The police was saying that also after the tournament that this is one of the year, no incident, no arrests, nothing at all. The people just came out to enjoy football, give one another the pecan, and you know they themselves was enjoying themselves. So I think we can enjoy ourselves without having major problems.
Yeah, but if I was a police, I would have arrested Bosco Coco Bellas, and whoever else that worked that came by my car and didn't allow me to leave after the beat closed. These guys would not let me leave the stadium. They let me have it this before people. Anyway, somebody says good night, great job to the team of Vieux-Fort South. Great tournament overall, but I do wish that we could take the same effort of promotion of the Black Hat and the Veterans Tournament could be done for the younger lads, because after all, they are our future and they really need the exposure that the veterans get. I could speak to that. We sponsored, St. Lucia Sports Online sponsored the under 15 competition.
Yeah, they get some good coverage.
We got some good. We actually got. I'll just let St. Lucia know that Black Hat was one of the sponsors of that competition, but we still need more persons to come and make a contribution. Okay, so you are our final caller. Good evening. You're live on 758 Sports Talk. Go ahead with your contribution. Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Big up Shakes, Kenson, and Mr. Bellas.
Big up.
Now, Shakes,
Yes, boss.
I want you to know the Mindu Philip Park, that is the home of Black Hat, original. Now, enough football not played in Castries. Now, the next Black Hat competition, I want more football to be played in Castries. Because Castries is the key for football in St. Lucia. And if Castries is weak, St. Lucia football weak too. Vieux-Fort, Mr. Bellas, don't burst your head, you know. Vieux-Fort strong, you know. I'm not underestimating Vieux-Fort at no time, you know. But I just want you to know, you have to concentrate on Castries. Bring more games in Castries. Because Castries is the key.
Castries is the key.
Yeah.
That's my contribution.
Stay right there. There's a key, but the key is not opening the padlock. The key you have to open the padlock. Look, we brought down the semi-finals down to Castries. You can say Castries because it's in that basin. We deal with the basins. And we had Marsh in there. We had Gozele in there. We had Canaries in there. When you look in the stand, you see the Canary supporters, Gozele. I don't know if everybody was on pause from the Friday night. You didn't see Gozele show up. Gozele, he had about 50 persons inside there.
And the usual people.
Yeah, usual people who was in Vieux-Fort and Soufrière everywhere. You look at Marsha, Marsha, a little group inside there, but then you have more support down in the southern area. A lot of promoters and organizers are going to shy away from Castries because the cost to use the Castries facility, and then if you don't get the right support, you're going to find yourself in the red. Yes, we will bring more support to Castries, but Castries people in themselves have to support and make sure they rally around to show the face that they can really hold and really make demands on the organizers to bring events down. They have to support, because when you go down in the south, you get the support. You go in Soufrière, you get the support. But then when you check the numbers, you have to check the numbers. You've seen the numbers dwindling down. Mindu Philip Park, yes, we would like to come back to Mindu Philip Park in the Marshall area. The facility have to be upgraded. The fence at the back have to look after, because it's a free-for-all from the back there. People could just get inside there. And then when you play games at Mindu Philip Park, you have to open like a sports shop like South over by Lac-Cadou, because anytime the ball go over the fence, it don't come back. We lose. I can remember one year we lose about 20-something balls in the back there, and then they eventually had a sports shop at the back there selling back the balls. You know, so we'll have a lot of if and buts. We'll have a lot of logistical problem that will really affect games going on there. But as long as the facility is up and going, and they can accommodate the games, we would love to bring the games down there, especially some of the warm-up games, and more or less give them, at least if it's one game in the first round or the second round. Let's see how we get panned out.
Last words from you, Mr. Bellas?
Yeah, I mean, I want to take this opportunity, of course, to thank our under-16 girls for doing the back-to-back. And, of course, I mean, last year, Coco Bellas came up with the phrase, our year, our time. This year, he came up with defend the fort. And the soldiers that I had with me this year, they worked hard to defend that fort. Not once was the door to that fort ever open. So I want to thank these soldiers. I also want to thank the community that was behind us, the club that have been giving the league support, and everybody else who have assisted. But special thank you to these guys for working extremely hard. I need to say thank you as well to Shakes for bringing football down to the south and giving Viewforshans something to look up to. So to you, Kenson, for that first program, having us there, I'm just hoping that our victory is going to make your program victorious, for want of a better term. But big up to the View for South team and to everybody who have supported the guys.
All right, thank you, Mr. Christopher.
Well, we look forward to see how we could have a massive prize giving ceremony, and we will be honoring all the goal scorers. I noticed we have 42 goals. We will be paying for all these goals. We will be taking care of the. We have a guy in there with a trick. We have a lot of prizes in store waiting to be dished out this year. We want to make sure and send a message to Coco Bellas that a fireball is waiting for you. You don't have to share your drink with Jamal. Just make sure you come down early. You and Jamil don't have to share no drink. And make sure you can have fun. We can have a real nice fun. We want to invite some of the other team members to really come and really celebrate the tournament in a big way. And what else can I say? I want to say hats off to the whole media fraternity, all the sponsors who make it happen this year. And let me just give a quick rundown on them. We want to thank Flow. 4G was flowing real nice, and we hope that the 4G could even get up to 5G by next year. Guinness, made of more, did very well. Blue Water, St. Lucia Major Water, I think they did a very good job this year. They helped pay for some of the goals in the second round. St. Lucia Insurance Alliances and Veterans in Sporting, Mr. Malikan. St. Lucia Distillers, Jazzboat Travel, JQ Motors, St. Lucia's Sport Online, who brings some additional flair to the tournament this year, the Ministry of Youth Development and Sport, and all the other sponsors. You know, to be out of time, I can't really call all of them. And Winners TV, who did a very good job in really partnering with us. And as you mentioned, Winners TV have all the matches recorded, all. Supporters who need to work on the bio and who need to work on getting something, seeing the game, they can contact Winners TV. They have all the footage, everything is available there. It may come in a little enumeration, but there's nothing much that you really can afford. So we want to say hats off to them. MBC and DBS. I think DBS is our home. DBS always is a family to us. They are silent sponsors. They really don't make much excitement, but DBS is always there to make sure that they get all the information out there. So all in all, I think it was a good effort by everybody, and I really want to thank the patrons in themselves who came out in large numbers and really supported the tournament with not one incident. And if you check the statistics, and you could go back, I even spoke to the one of the hierarchy of the St. Lucia Police Force. Not one crime took place around the vicinity of the football during the time from the 16th of September to the 7th of October. The homicide rate went down. I hope it can stay down. I hope it can stay down, and persons could really focus and have other events come around that would really stimulate the minds of the youth and keep them in positivity, and we could keep that homicide rate down. But again, check the statistic, talk to Commissioner Mosheri, and he can verify it for you. Between that time from the 16th of September to the 7th of October, the homicide rate went right down.
Wow. Okay, enough said. All right, we still had a number of messages. I'm very sorry, St. Lucia, we won't be able to get through all of them. Somebody said the finals should end on a high with a big concert for patrons. I guess something we can look after. Look for next year. Somebody says, good evening, gentlemen. I agree, Shakes, when you say field preparation. I'm disappointed in the prizes and the giveaways. That kind of leader need. Somebody says, okay, that's...
No, the giveaways was going on. People get mixed up with the giveaways. The giveaways was going on with the sponsors on the tarmac. Yeah. Because you can't interfere the game. It was mentioned to us by the governing body. You can't interfere the game, especially at that time with giveaways. So the giveaways was going on the tarmac with Guinness, Flow, and Blue Waters. A lot of people missed out on it because they wasn't really informed. All the giveaways was going on the tarmac.
All right. That's my final one. I'm going to end with karate. Somebody said, I'd like to congratulate Karate Federation St. Lucia on the successful hosting of the National Martial Arts Festival held yesterday. I must say, I was very, very, very impressed with what I saw there. I want to get involved in a little bit of Tai Chi and, try something different. Very well done, Karate Federation. All right. So, thank you so much for inviting us into your houses tonight. I must say, hats off to Mr. Christopher again on a competition well held. I cannot wait. The countdown begins for 2018. Will Vieux-Fort do a free-pit? Will teams like Ancillary, up-and-coming team, Groselev, young team, Vieux-Fort North, who really wants to do something down south, will they come better next year and win it and disappoint the Vieux-Fort South persons? You'd have to stay tuned. On behalf of our entire sports team, I'm Kenson Casimir, wishing you guys a good night. Bye-bye.